Look at this. Welcome to fuck.
Is this 15?
Episode, it's 15. Episode 15.
Oh,
You can tell we've prepared because I never even know what episode number we're on. It's going great.
Oh,
this is episode 15.
We should have
against all odds.
Your addresses.
This is sort of like the fact that NoFX is still a band. It's just like shocking to everyone.
No thanks to Fat Mike.
Definitely no thanks. It's like Pennywise. Definitely no thanks to Fletcher and his Pringles cans.
By the time this comes out, will we have already gone to this show?
Oh, math.
By the time this comes out, no, we'll be like
a day or two away. Yeah.
Is this 2 weeks from now?
It'll be 2 days before the field trip.
Yep.
Oh shit. That's gonna be great.
I recognize we only have, I think it's 5 listeners now.
More than that. It's probably more than 70 countries now.
We might be pushing double digits, bitch.
Yeah.
Well, 14 just got released today, so it's probably back down again. It's sort of ebbs and flows, and I think it goes down as new episodes are released.
I don't think that's how it's supposed to work.
No, I don't think so. But this is where we are. Yeah. So out of 5 listeners, no one yet has said they're coming to the field trip, which is a little disappointing.
Sam's coming. Sam's going to come. That's right. He's a guest.
Really?
I guess he's a bit different.
I'm not banking on it.
I just had lunch with Rosa Carrillo, and she isn't going to come to the show, but she's in the area, so we should go have lunch with her. That's what we decided.
I don't know if going to a music festival and doing lunch, like I'm not sure those two things are the same.
It's going to be
part of the same itinerary.
I don't know if
we're going to need like a big greasy lunch, I imagine, after all the Pringles cans we drink.
Big Greasy was my high school nickname.
I thought Town Bike was your high school nickname.
Speed Hump, Local Honey, Funky China. There's a lot. There's a long list.
Big Greasy.
Big Greasy is a good one, though. Look, it's episode 15. We decided, I don't know, 37 seconds ago that we were going to talk about culture.
That's the amount of preparation that topic deserves.
Well, we'll do 2. We'll do part 1 and part 2, which gives us a chance in part 2 to say something intelligent.
Don't hold us to that though.
No, yeah, it's a possibility, not something that's probably going to happen.
Winning the lotto is a possibility as well.
Fuck. Yeah. Fuck. Ron, who's behind you?
That's always such a threatening thing. I feel.
Well, ever since you had Big Dick Nick on behind you, it has been.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But no, I'm not going to go there. So this is a band called Poison the Well, kind of a hardcore-ish band that rocks my face off, but I put it back on for this podcast.
Cool. Yeah. Now that you're a doctor, I mean, the bands have changed a little bit.
Yeah, we're a bit more highbrow these days.
I forgot the name of the band already. Poison the Well. Never heard of it.
What
Dave has the correct t-shirt on. It occurs to me nobody's watching this on YouTube, but if you were, you would see the NoFX shirt that Dave is wearing.
Yeah.
The correct.
You shouldn't have said NoFX shirt, because then they'd been like, "Oh, what's the shirt?" And like that drives the people.
Drives traffic.
I know.
Yeah, that's the word, traffic.
You're a thinker, Ron. Clicks.
Clicks. Yeah.
Smash that like button.
Smash it.
Dave, what do you got going on there?
I've just got a little of the All American Rejects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very pop.
Like obviously not super punk, but couple of cool songs. And I feel like this pod's a bit our dirty little secret. So I thought and hanging out with you guys, I thought All American Rejects might be a good backdrop.
Yeah.
We're
living up to it.
It's a theme picture that doubles as an insult. That's really fun.
Yeah, no,
You're welcome.
I think by 15 episodes, it's clear that I'm the one that does the homework, right? And does the thinking.
You write all the fucking papers.
Well, you've written all the fucking papers, so homework's done. You're just leaning on those. When was your most recent paper?
A long time ago. I actually need to do something. So once we get a few more episodes in the bag, we'll use the AI to turn a few of these transcripts into a paper.
Oh God!
It'll be like the current state of the current punk rock state of safety, and I'll just get a bit of a summary of 15 or 20 episodes.
Maybe a photo journal from the field trip. It'll just be a bunch of pictures, and
then we'll just send it places. Like we'll send it into professional safety, and we'll send it into safety science, and we'll just spray it around everywhere, and just see who's dumb enough to publish it.
Where is Drew a reviewer?
Yeah,
because anywhere Drew is doing some reviewing, I'm going to send it.
No, I think you want to avoid anywhere that Drew is doing his review.
It's not so that we can get it published. It's really more to give Drew something to just shake his head at, I think. Yeah. Sorry, Drew. I love you. Just want to give you something horrible to look at. I got bad brains behind me.
And in you.
Like the thing to do. And in me. Right here. In the old coconut.
In the coconut. What are you up to these days, Ben?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm up to. I'm in the office, head spinning, getting ready to do a little round of travel, which will be good.
Yeah. Anything fun?
No.
That's fun.
No, it's fun. I'm going to go talk about peace, love, and happiness a little bit.
See what you did there.
Opportunities to
hop to it.
Yeah. Although I don't call it hop in real life. I like to be stealthy, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, a couple little speaking things, a couple little Lego things, and a pretty good stretch of going and doing interviews as part of consulting and maybe even related to culture.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you interviewing about?
Well, since safety culture doesn't exist anymore.
Hey,
well, not according to the University of Colorado team.
Just up the hill from me.
Yeah, just up the hill from
wind. Yeah, caught wind and said.
Shout out to Matt and Fred. Sid.
What's up?
The other Sid, not the Sid that you know, Ben, the other Sid.
the Sid that I actually know, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you guys up to?
Prove it.
Shit, I'm jet lagged as hell still. Just getting back in the swing of it after a little bit of a holiday in the Isles, the British Isles. Yeah. Nothing fun. No culture.
You made it sound way weirder than it should have.
That's really like sort of my thing. Like, how can I make it really uncomfortable for everybody involved?
Yeah. Dave, are you on the aisle, as it were?
I'm not on the aisle. Well, Australia, I think, is the largest aisle in the world. If my elementary school quiz shows or quiz tests are correct. No, I spent the last couple of days with a mining company, coal mining company, hanging out. That's about it. Not too much. Gearing up. Come see you boys in a couple of weeks.
And hopefully others.
And all of our listeners.
Yeah.
At least all 3 1 out of 5.
Which maybe is why it's sold out.
That's it.
Is it sold out?
Oh, I think it'd be close.
Well, don't oversell it here.
So tell me about culture.
I don't know.
What is culture?
I kind of gravitate toward the old Ed Shine view of culture as sort of a big picture of it, right? That is shared values and beliefs and artifacts and the things that we say that we do in some combination, and that describes culture in an organization. I don't think safety culture is necessarily separate.
Do you think
from that? Do you think what?
Like, I think you think of the culture, like from an anthropology perspective, it's shared values and beliefs and that. I don't think that's true in organizations. I don't think you turn up in a company and change your inherited values and beliefs and things like that. I think you toe the fucking line. And that's
if it isn't, but that's a shared. But if people are showing up, and I think that culture is dimensional, right? So, if you look at like Hofstede and national culture and these sorts of things, right? That's different than the way that I show up in an organization. But look, we're three morons on a podcast. We show up to a conference and presumably we may behave somewhat differently. And I don't think that's an abandonment of shared values or beliefs, but it's sort of an adjustment of values and beliefs, and that's cultural too. I don't know. I think that's I think an anthropologist would look at that and say, look, in this organization, people feel there is this shared feeling that you have to toe the line. And I think that speaks to culture as much as saying that people are going to shift their beliefs. Something like that.
What do you think, Ron?
I blacked out for a little bit there. Did anything happen?
What does Ron think? Let's double down and let's get Ron fired.
Let's give it to Dr. Ron.
Dr. Ron fired.
Oh man, you all know how to do it. Next Friday. That's the time. There's a sweet spot. No, I think I lean more towards your perspective a little bit, Ben. I mean, Dave, like, I hear you like from a more functional, like useful way of looking at it, to be honest, because like,
a lot of times I'm not in the useful category.
Well, I know that. Useless is maybe another term that comes to mind. But no, so yes, like the definition of culture, I think Ed Schein did a really good job of framing it, those shared patterns of, beliefs and things like that. That seems to me like a really good definition. I think, Dave, your point speaks to a more important question in my mind, and that's, does it fucking matter?
Yep.
Like,
so I think
does culture actually matter?
I think I always like I don't mind a general definition like the way we do things around here, but I prefer something like learned patterns of behavior, because for me culture doesn't matter, right? But behavior matters, and not from a behavioral-based safety guy. So Ben, you don't need to get a hard on over this conversation.
Well, we haven't done our behavior talk yet.
We've already said that Ron took over this.
Or Ron,
I've passed the torch.
Whichever of you guys drinks the most.
What torch? Like last I heard is something about you getting something, and then there's a torch.
Yeah,
and now I have it, and I'm not sure exactly what I have.
You've a big
just hang on to it.
Bottle of cocaine water. But I think patterns of behavior is really, because they are learned and they are things that are useful to understand inside an organization. And in the organizational literature, like the institutional logic space, like what are the logics that the organization hold? How do we think about safety and think about the market and commercial aspects of the business and things like that. So, I think like logics and behavior are kind of really, really important. And if we lump all those things together as culture, then yeah, great. But just going, first of all, I was working with a senior executive once, and his cause or explanation for every accident was, we just need to keep improving our culture. And
which makes me want to fucking throat punch someone.
And his explanation in every executive and every board meeting is we just need to work on our culture, and it's a 5-year journey. And he's saying this,
it's always a 5-year journey.
Everything.
saying this for like 3 fucking years, and one day I sort of got a little bit antsy, as you do sometimes, Ron, in your safety role, I guess. And he'd been saying it for like 3 years, and like 3 years in, he's like going, it's a 5-year journey. I go, well, we're three fucking years into it, so we should be 60% there. So how about you tell us what we've done in relation to culture? But I think something so esoteric for organizations is not as practically useful, I think, Ron, to get your point. I don't know. So I don't tend to talk about it too much.
Yeah, I think it ends up being this really shitty scapegoat for things. And it's fucking lazy. Some Dave's thunder here.
That's like 2 drinks, because it wasn't Dave that said it.
I know.
Trademark. The trademark
say,
application is through. You can't just go around saying that all the time.
Hearing from my fucking attorney, bitch.
So if you're gonna talk about culture, don't be fucking lazy. You need to describe what you mean by it. And I think
we just date this letter.
Yeah. I think a lot of people stop at Shine is talking about espoused values and artifacts and these sort of shared beliefs, and all that's really good, right? Basic assumptions and so on. But it goes further than that. And if you flip a few pages more, he talks about patterns of behavior, and he talks about context for action. And he talks about not that it's things that are correct, but it's things that have worked well enough in the past that we keep doing them. And so I think if you're going to sit down and say, well, we have an issue with culture, then we also have to take the next step and say, well, what do I fucking mean by that? Right? Yeah. Is it that this thing is not true, but it's also embedded into how we think and operate? We make decisions based on this thing that doesn't matter? Or people come into this organization, we hire people because we think they're smart and adaptable and equipped to do things here, and then we squash their will to live as a cultural norm here. Like, you don't get to speak up, nobody gives a shit, shut up and color, right? That's cultural stuff that matters. But you can't be fucking lazy, and you have to go to the next step and say, fine, we have to work on our culture. What the fuck do you mean? What will we work on, and how do we know when what we worked on does something or matters?
I think that's where a lot of the culture.
Shut up.
And that's that's where a lot of the discourse.
It's my management style. Just shut up and color.
It makes it easy because I can manage the same way I parent.
Yeah.
But don't be fucking lazy.
It's just one fucking speed here, man. That's all we get.
Here's your fucking crayon. Get to
it. That's probably a shirt. Here's your fucking crayon. Go fix your culture or something like that.
Go draw.
But to me, sometimes, a lot of times, back to this whole hey, we need to fix our culture, we need to improve our culture, whatever. Like, often just translates when you really think about it and we need to get people to care more or try harder or give a shit about safety. Like, oh, you can tell culture by the people, within 30 seconds are people holding the handrails or some shit like that. And like
another neck punch. Everybody's getting neck punches for saying this.
There's this one post I saw on LinkedIn, and the guy wanted to remain anonymous who said it, but I just love it.
I'm right here.
No, it was a smart thing.
Oh, I remember this. You tried to ruin that guy's life.
Yeah, I know. I tried, but cool. It's one of my specialties. Nice. But he said there's a lot of managers holding the handrail on a way to make bad decisions. And to me, I think that really resonates, because like a lot of this stuff is just bullshit, which to me leads to something that Edgar Schein said that I think is really practical and useful to help with this, is when you are dealing with a cultural problem, often, and he actually said, when people called him and said, hey, I got a cultural issue, can you help us? He would say, okay, describe the problem again to me, but without using the word culture. Because often when you force people to describe it without using that word, you get at something that's often more practical, like, oh, people aren't doing this thing, or we're having this bad outcome that we're trying to solve for. And that leads to much more practical solutions than like, I need to get people to change their beliefs. Like, what? Like, I don't even know if I can do that.
Believe different. Maybe we should have a shirt that just says "Believe different."
I think
fuck safety, make money.
I mean, we did leadership with John, right? And I think
ages ago,
but this idea that leaders create cultures, and sort of say to leaders, like, you're shaping your culture every day, whether you're intending to or not. So you may as well be intentional about it. And I think with leaders, like, the interesting thing when a leader talks about they've got a problem with culture, you can pretty much turn around and go, well, I kind of think that leaders play a big role in shaping culture. So maybe you got a problem with leadership. Maybe you don't have a problem with culture.
It's you.
But
neck punch.
But I think leaders clearly play a role here in culture. So I think, Ron, to your point, like, if someone says to me they got a culture problem, I love that question of, can you describe for me the problem? And then you say, can you describe to me how leaders kind of like enable this situation to occur?
And that's it, that sort of tacit approval, right? Or enabling something to occur.
You get the level of safety that you walk past.
Sure. These are all cool
the standard you walk past is the standard you accept.
Yeah.
You guys,
but there is some element to that, right? I mean, every dumb slogan has some sort of well-meaning intent behind it. And the reality is, if leaders are shaping some of this, and I think that they are, then the things that they accept, that tacit approval, or, I say to folks a lot of times, sometimes we have to unsay things that we never said. As a leader, you have to say, well, hold up, there are some assumptions being made about how things have to work, and I might have to unring that a little bit without ever having said it, right? It's I don't know, unringing bells is difficult, but so is being a leader, I guess, right?
Well, and that's, I think, those unrung bells to me speak to like one of the really important parts of this discussion with culture, which also makes a lot of the way we talk about culture seem silly, is that the people that are often the least qualified to talk about a given culture are the people in that culture, because it's often when you're in the culture, you don't even know what's going on. Like the bells that are being rung, you probably don't recognize it because it's not an abnormal thing to you. It's just the air you breathe.
You're in it.
Like like being in a cult or the Amish or something.
Yes, exactly like that.
Holy shit.
That's a way to describe that.
Like,
yes, those are words.
Cult or Amish. What is happening here?
Maybe I should have had a sentence in between those.
Yeah, probably there should have been some space. It's fine though. It's okay. Okay. I'm pretty sure no one just listen to our podcast.
I don't think they've got the internet.
Probably not represented in our 5 listeners. So, okay, there's a new
But if they were, we'd be hitting some massive diversity quotas.
Massive.
So there's a new paper from our friends up at University of Colorado. Have you read it?
I haven't read it.
It's in my inbox. I think I'm going to
You did the fucking homework. You said you do the homework. What's wrong with you?
I didn't start to read anything.
Oh. Cool. So I guess maybe this is part 2.
What a stupid thing for you to think that he's actually going to read. Like, no.
The short version is, with apologies to Matt and Fred, because I'll mess up the short version. But the short version is, quit fucking around with safety culture. It doesn't matter or mean anything. Do practical behavioral stuff that makes people safer. Safety culture is not a thing.
Well, and that actually, I mean, we've been mentioning Shine a lot in this podcast so far. Shine would almost agree with that.
I think that's right.
I don't know that he would totally agree that like you ignore culture completely. he might get close to that, but like I don't believe he was a big believer in safety culture being a thing.
No, he was not. I think because it would be weird for it to exist separately.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure the paper is limited to that. I think it's really just saying, like culture is not tied to safer behaviors or outcomes.
Oh, really? That's a big claim.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, well, I think
I'll get corrected on this because I'm probably the takeaway I'm getting is probably
I think it's
wrong.
indirect, right? Like it's so yes. Indirect in terms of how it impacts physical risk, right? So it's like I want to have a culture where safety is the most important priority. So I'm going to do a safety stand down. I'm going to get everyone in the room for the day and talk to them. And then tomorrow and the next day when they go out and do their work, they're going to do something different because I put them in a fucking room and told them that safety is important. It's like, no, they're not. They're just going to do the work the way they always do the work. Like put a fucking guard on the machine or something like that. Like just, and I think doing something that's doing things that are far more instrumental around physical risks might be the way that the UC team were talking about it, because like with their hacker work, their high energy control assessments and that, they're probably just saying like, you've got all these high energy hazards that are floating around your organization and you're worried about this kind of, feeling and beliefs and values, and go manage the fucking risk. All right.
Yeah. And they do, they do have a delimitation, right? So they say, look, this is North American construction industry. And I think that maybe is a little more unique to saying, put a guard on the fucking machine. But I would also, I don't think that it's useless. I think we're going to go on this field trip. It's 3 days of applied idiocy. And people in that crowd, probably us, act differently based on what is happening in that environment. That doesn't mean, our core beliefs haven't changed, right? But there are things that happen that are different. Now, whether you call that climate or culture or whatever the fuck you want to call it, I think that it is worth investigating. And I don't think it's an either or question about, can I manage the very specific physical risk? The answer is yes, and I probably should do a lot of that. But the other shit is, you show up on a job site and everybody goes, dude, we always take the guards off machines here because that's how you get shit done. Okay, I'm going to take the guard off the fucking machine. I'm going to throw the hammer at the triple expanding foam. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of field trips, go Ron.
No, speaking of field trips, go Ron.
Go Ron. Why don't you go on one, Ron?
I can get the fuck out.
I'm just trying to work out color with my cabin baggage how I pack the Australian flag inflatable raft.
Fucking shit.
You just want to have one sent ahead.
Some practical work on this field trip.
Amazon exists and delivers to my house. Come on down.
All right.
What do you think? We're gonna ride that thing all the way down to that.
We're at the wharf as well, so think how useful the raft's going to be when we're at the wharf.
So useful. Yes, jump right in that water. So from a cognitive systems engineering perspective.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
I didn't take that
long.
Fuck. Let's call Dave Woods and just let him know it's happening.
CSEL represent.
I would say what we're talking about, and maybe a useful way to think about what you're describing, Ben, is they would describe it as like, how do groups create, maintain, and monitor common ground between each other?
Here we go, Ben. Joint cognitive activity. Here we go again.
Joint
activity.
We ought to write a paper.
I'm saying, but no.
And by we, I mean Ron. He's not going to let us on it.
Because that's
not me, certainly.
That's pretty critical for how people coordinate, right? Is those sort of implicit assumptions about, okay, if I do this, you are going to recognize that I'm doing that, and that's going to cause you to do X, Y, and Z, which is important for our overall goal, mission, etc. And so understanding that A, that's there, and B, how that is created and maintained is actually useful for understanding how a group can work. Now, where it's sort of, that sounds a lot like just more like, okay, you're just calling culture something else. I think where it starts to diverge from how people talk about culture is this is more specific to a given context, circumstance, task, whatever. It's like you can develop common ground with the cashier at a grocery store about how that task is going to go. Like I put money in front of them. They recognize that I'm not just like
at a grocery store.
Yeah. I give money to someone. They give me food in return, like we don't have to describe what our actions are and talk about it. It just happens. When a certain
Food.
Nicholas gives a certain Benjamin his certain number, there's a certain understanding a transaction has taken place that will go unsaid.
Shared assumption. I think this is Fred's definitely going to correct me on some of this stuff too, I'm sure of it. But they talk about this idea of safety culture, sort of you could throw it in the trash because it's not all that useful. But in the article, they also call out that there are elements of, of safety culture that maybe aren't always agreed upon. And I think that's the part, we don't have to glom all this stuff together and go, okay, we're going to fix culture because it doesn't fucking mean anything. But if you say, trust is some sub element to culture. And I know that trust sucks. Like I don't trust the leadership. I don't trust my foreman or whatever. That's an issue. I can't speak up. Sharing some information about what the hell I'm seeing out there, that's important. And it does bear on safety behaviors and outcomes. So I don't know. I have a hard time wrapping my head around safety culture doesn't exist in the abstract, at least.
But I think
I don't know. I'm talking myself in circles.
No, I think what you said there is really, really important. And connecting it to Ron's point about describe for me the problem. Like when you started talking then about trust and what's our current understanding of our organization in relation to trust, and what are the implications of not having good trust, and what are the implications of that on safety? And you talk about communication. Then we're starting to get into something that is more tangible. And then we can start to talk about things that are, I think, consistent with what it sounds like. This paper is talking about is kind of like, what are the actionable tactics that we can then go and work on? What leaders need to do in this space now to try to generate more trust in the organization, or whatever that may be. But just saying we need to fix culture, or we need to fix safety, or, we need to fix compliance, or whatever those things are, like they're just fucking lazy, generic statements that are unactionable, right? Because you can't do anything with that. Like back to my first concept, like what do I do if I say my culture's broken? Like I can't do anything yet. I've got to actually describe the problem a little bit better.
You just say that it's a 5-year journey.
It's a 5-year journey. So
just hope that you retire.
I'll be on the fucking beach in Cancun before you fuckers realize that for 4.5 years I didn't do shit.
But it is one of my favorite questions, right? Is if you say culture is the problem, how do we fix culture? And I think it comes back to the discussion early on, which was don't be so fucking lazy.
Just get Ben to go around all your sites and tell his story of his incident with triple expanding foam, and everyone, and you'll have a great culture.
Yeah, then people will care a lot.
Well, they're going to pay more attention.
We just need a t-shirt.
I think you can.
Don't be like Ben.
You can talk to people and ask good questions and elicit stories and sort of understand some of those elements that might contribute to that shared set of assumptions or beliefs, or the context for behavior. And trust is probably one of them, and the ability to communicate, and the faith I have that anybody else gives a shit about this stuff that I'm told I'm supposed to be doing. I think all those things are important and actionable. As actionable as going around and saying, holy fuck, we've got people exposed to 480 volts here, and that's not great. We should do something about it. I mean, these are all still concrete things.
I think a t-shirt that's got like I've just got in my head this t-shirt that's got cartoon Ben on a forklift with a big can of triple expanding foam. It's just like save Ben, stop the job or something. Or this is
what
Ben.
if I'm riding the can of foam?
Ben's unsafe. Don't be like Ben.
The can of foam is like a rocket, and I'm riding the rocket.
Quick, get him some cocaine water.
As a big rocket.
Yeah, exactly. Just straddled this thing, just firing foam out the back into.
Oh God, that'd be so good.
I don't want to just make it all about no effects, but like S&M Airlines, where the gals.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love that for you.
That's so good.
Ben's going to lose. Ben's not going to sleep tonight putting that together.
I'm so excited to see that. So that whole thing though about like our culture is broken. Like, is there a bad culture? Like, is there a culture that's objectively bad? Do you guys like good and bad?
Well,
because like,
yeah, I mean, it's sort of, I mean, back to anthropology, right? I mean, that's almost, I mean, that's a values-based thing. You know, I guess you could argue that, you know, the North Korean political party is not a culture that any of us would enjoy, but it's normal and valuable there. So I don't know.
I think
it's not that valuable.
You're trying to add North Korea on the list, on the country list.
So it's the Amish and North Korea, apparently. I feel like I'm in a little safer spot than David.
And anyone who identifies as being in a cult.
Yes. Sort of North Korea.
Yeah. I think good and bad is interesting. So like the big C kind of word around context.
Oh,
I was like, where the hell's he going here?
Yeah, what are we?
I think
what t-shirt
so,
is this?
So culture in an organization, I think, is shaped by the pursuit of goals, right? And so when you said is a culture good or bad, I think we need to be more specific. Is a culture good or bad for certain goals that an organization is trying to achieve? And so if we say safety is one of those goals, then we can talk about a culture in the context of being good or bad in the pursuit of that goal. So I think some organizations that are like, if you think about that, are super commercially orientated or financially orientated and driven and cut cost and don't give a fuck and don't pay my people and I don't care. That might be a useful, valuable culture in the pursuit of a financial goal, but might not be a useful and valuable culture in the pursuit of a safety goal. So I don't know. I hadn't really necessarily thought of it like that until you asked Ben about is something good or bad. But I think good or bad in relation to what is a question that needs to be answered.
Well, I think like useful and valuable is better than good and bad. I mean, you've said. Yeah, I think those are better words. Effective, not effective, useful, valuable.
And because then that's useful, valuable, or effective, not effective relative to these goals. Yeah. What does that optimize for versus what does it make us vulnerable to? And I think, and that's where, to me, a lot of the discussion about safety culture starts to get really, you know, to use your phrase, Ben, like the not full credit answer is that safety culture.
A lot of that in my life.
If we just treat it as this like objectively good thing that you want a safety culture, that means like, okay, it may be good relative to some goals. Like even it may be good relative to some safety goals, but make you vulnerable to other ones. You know, like this is very possible if we just really understand what we're talking about. Back to what you said earlier, Ben, like understand what exactly do we mean relative to culture. If it's these beliefs and values about the world that are shaped by the context, well, then we're optimizing for certain contexts, for certain goals, which makes us vulnerable to other ones, which means, you know, hey, we got, that's good, but it's good until it's not.
Shockingly, not one single answer.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is, I think, sort of what that, you know, the article and then some responses to that really recent article out of CU have gotten to or have have gotten a little bit heated because of some misunderstanding, right? It is not some absolute thing. It is maybe ill-defined. I always think about it like if you ask someone if they're happy, right? Like there are different things in that equation for different people. And yet we still do things like there's, the happiest country in the world. And we try to put measurements to this sort of stuff. And there is some sort of vague agreement, I guess, to what happy is. But being happy in one element or one part of your life doesn't mean that it's not a complete shit show in another. And I think culture is very much that way. It would make me happy to retire right now, but my bank account would suffer. I would be vulnerable to bankruptcy.
Yeah. Vulnerable to your point, a home.
Which I think brings up something that comes up in discussion a lot too, and that's can you measure any of this? And even if you can, does it matter? Do we care? And is it actionable in any meaningful way?
So I think measure it's good. I think the measurement discussion is a worthwhile discussion to have, Ben. So well done on that shift.
Maybe that's part two.
Finally.
Yeah. I don't think culture does. I'm feeling like culture is not really deserving a second go. But measurement.
Dave can't wait to get to behavior-based safety.
Yeah, I'm done with this. Let's talk about real stuff like behavior. I think the measurement point is interesting. When you say measurement, I think we sort of think about quantification. Like my culture is in this category, 7. Or my culture is 63.5 out of 100 or something. And that sort of measurement, that's bullshit, right? Like, there's no point doing that. I think being descriptive around culture, which is where it all started, like Margaret Mead and all the work from the 30s and onward about national cultures, and then Jane Goodall will go hanging out in Africa with the apes for a decade and trying to understand, the way that the social systems within ape communities, or gorillas, apes, are they the same thing, different thing? I don't know.
What?
Now it's the ape community.
Wow.
They're not listening. But I think actually being descriptive around our own organizational culture is really, really useful in relation to certain, like what Ron was saying before about, so what is communication like in our business? What is decision making kind of like? And so I think understanding culture is good, measuring culture is bad.
Yeah. And understanding too that I think that gap between, like, coming back to Shine, right? He talks about espoused values, but the things that we say, communication is like this, what we say it's like. And then as you talk with different groups, subgroups within an organization, how they actually perceive communication. Those gaps, I think, are a really interesting thing to look at too. And while it's not direct measurement, it's sort of relative, right? Like you can see bigger differences between what we say it is and how we do it. And I think that's useful as a leader, maybe to target effort a little bit, right? So you're not fixing 100%. Culture, fixing communication. I know that I've got some vulnerabilities in this area. That's where I can put my effort.
Like imagine okay, you have two groups in your organization. Typically it's going to be
the good ones and the bad ones.
The good ones and the bad ones.
Yeah, exactly. The Bens and the Daves. I'll let you decide who's who. But okay, one of Ben is a 3.8 and Dave is a 3.1.
Fuck off.
Safety culture.
You bet he is.
Like,
you bet he is.
What the fuck do I even do with that? Like,
reverse scale.
I just tell Dave to try harder. Oh. Whereas if we do kind of what Dave, you're saying,
we tell him that all the time. Try
five's bad, one's good.
Quit sucking so bad.
3's good. 3.1's good.
Do better.
Yeah, it sure is, buddy. You're doing great.
Thanks, boss.
You try hard.
Put me back in the game.
But
I'd be a walk-on starter for the Warriors.
A lot of effort.
Fucker. But like, if we, by comparison, if we say, okay, well, no, like, Ben and Dave communicate in these very different ways, or they perceive the communication in these very different ways. To me, that's way more like actionable and understanding how these groups relate to one another, especially if they have to coordinate, if there has to be interaction between them. It's also way more, in my mind, easy to see how that's predictive of performance in some way, shape, or form than like
against those goals you were talking
and
about.
we're back
right?
again to joint activity. Here we go again.
There's the gravitational pull is strong.
This is like an encore.
Basically, I just wanted
Why do they keep playing the
20
same
episodes to
song
describe
over
my
and over?
dissertation.
So weird.
When two people have to coordinate, I just feel like that's just on repeat in my head.
Yeah.
But I think I think that's that shared piece, right? Like, and I think in an organization, like, I don't think you check out of who you are at the door of your company when you walk in at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right? Like, you're still the same person, but you can the way you think, the way you act, is shaped by the context of the organization you're in, right? And you learn that. You learn what the expected, way to approach different situations, way to talk, way to communicate. I remember the first time I walked into an organization. I walked in, got met at the reception by a person, and walked straight up the stairs. Didn't hold the handrail. Right. And so I was the new VP of safety, and I just really like it. But anyway, and this reception person stopped me and said, in this organization, we hold the handrail. And like, this is a person, like, I was a new VP of safety, and this was like the receptionist. And I'm like, all right, good to know. I'm not going to get fired now, so I'll hold the handrail. But I think it's this kind of like shared ways to think about certain things, right? Meanwhile, we're all holding our handrail right on the way to making bad decisions.
Yeah. No,
with full credit to the mysterious person who.
To that end, though, this is somewhat contradictory to what I said earlier, because I'm really suspicious of whether safety culture actually exists as a thing. But even though I think culture is probably a thing,
spit on that thing.
But like, if safety culture is a thing, it's probably related to a very small subset of questions, which I don't think are normative, but are descriptive. So like, what is and isn't in the safety bucket? Like, holding handrails in that organization was clearly in the safety bucket, whereas there are probably other stuff that when we're going to have a safety meeting, but we don't talk about like schedule in that meeting because that's not safety, and then how do you improve safety? Like, what things make safety better? There's probably a lot of shared assumptions and beliefs about that in the organization. And then what threatens safety? So when something bad happens, we have probably a list of usual suspects in our organization we go after. Yeah, there's the bends. That's pretty much every organization. But you know what I mean? Like, if safety culture is a thing, I think it's probably related to the assumptions in the organization that are shared about those questions.
Or the goals. I think it's those specific goal sets drive the assumptions about what's important to meeting those. And that comes back to what you said earlier, Ron, about, a lot of this is, if we're talking about good or bad, or effective, ineffective, whatever, it's all relative to meeting some organizational or interpersonal goal. And I think that's
and that's the way
you've come right back to that, almost as if it were joint cognitive activity.
Oh my God. But no, so like, to me, if you evaluate those questions relative to the goals of your organization, you can say, hey, do our answers to those questions support or inhibit our ability to achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve? Like, if our discussions about safety are all about like, we need to fix people's mindsets and make them care more and try harder, does that actually support us creating, a safe environment when we're in this industrial situation with all this equipment that doesn't have fucking guards on it or something like that.
I think just listening to you then, Ron, this idea
about fucking time.
Well,
then.
Close to the end. I thought I'd throw you a bone.
So did Nick.
Yeah. So what do other people need to do? I think that part of this shaping culture thing is just reframing the idea that as in an organization where you think of culture as stuff other people do. I think it's more useful to think about culture in the context of what do I do. So I love the idea when you were just talking then about when you were saying what do I want other people to do. If that was a question of what can I do that will influence ways that other people do things, I think that then becomes quite an interesting conversation for an organization. But I agree with what most organizations are doing when they talk about culture is, a group of leaders sitting around in a smoke-filled room, with the Monty going, why aren't our people doing different shit? If they were sitting around that table going, what can we do differently that's going to change the way that our organization behaves? That might be potentially a useful thing to talk about.
It'd be interesting to have that conversation with people. Like, okay, just think for a second and answer these questions. How would I know if I was having a safety conversation in this organization? How would I know if I was improving safety? And how would I know if there was a safety issue that I needed to address? And then how would I address it? Like, there's probably a set of default answers to those questions that a lot of people in the organization have that are probably way more enlightening than any kind of fucking survey.
Yeah, one of the, not that anything I'm doing over here is
this guy right here, this fucking guy.
One of the questions, I was trying to find the exact questions here and I can't. But there's a couple questions that we ask in organizations, some of those interviews, which are, how do you think other people see how you shape beliefs and actions here?
Right? Amazing. Next question.
Or how do you think, how would other people describe your impact on the culture here?
Breathtaking. Next question.
It's not breathtaking. Shut the fuck up. We're back to neck punches. Throat punch. It's like Oprah. You get a throat punch.
Breathtaking, because I'm strangling him up against the wall and going, fucking be safe. Taking their breath away.
What's wrong with you? Okay. Summarizing, you two fucks. Does safety culture exist, Ron?
No.
Be careful what you say. I'm broadcasting directly up to see you.
No. And well, so to me, I'm gonna punt a little bit here and say to me, whether it exists or not actually
laces out.
Not that interesting of a question. It's whether it's useful or not.
Oh, cool. Thank you. That's actually a shit question.
You're a shit question.
Cool.
No, because then we get into some how do we prove that safety culture exists? I don't know, but just talking about it and using it as a construct, is that helpful to us? It can be,
as long as you're not fucking lazy.
Yeah, don't be lazy about it.
We can't leave it at we have to fix our culture. If only we had better culture. Or my favorite is we don't have safety. There is no safety culture. You're like, no.
Oh my God.
We have it.
Yeah.
Their culture exists here. We may not like it. Okay. So whether it exists or not as a separate construct is not all that exciting.
Not to me.
It's the fact that there are some elements in there that are worth probably talking about.
Sometimes, not always.
To that context for action, I think is.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we done? Did we solve it?
Did we solve culture?
Yeah. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm at least sick of talking about
it. Jesus. Dave started out not wanting to
join us for our second episode.
Escalate. And he's really only tolerated us.
3-part series.
On safety culture. Boom, boom.
That's how we know we get Dave to like fucking rage quit the show. It's just keep talking
wound up talking about culture.
Fuck you guys.
No, that's good. I think there's certain aspects that are worth understanding so that we can do actionable things about them. But speaking generically about shit is a waste of time.
Yeah. Yep. Generic shit equals waste of time.
Pop culture, like mass market
journeys,
shit.
a journey toward laziness.
And you know what? You know what's pretty cool though? Is like we did a whole hour talking about culture shit, and we didn't mention curves or ladders once.
Oh, that's the second episode, bitch.
Why is this happening? There's a reason we didn't mention curves or ladders.
That's so generative of you.
I'm an interdependent kind of guy.
I'm gonna do like a culture like ladder, but it's gonna be like the fucking girls from Sex in the City. That's so fucking Miranda. That's a Miranda culture. I got a target to be a Samantha culture by Q2.
I think more like the Three Stooges, Larry, Curly, or Moe.
Or Shemp.
It's such a Larry.
Shemp, he was sort of the fourth stooge every once in a while, right?
Larry, Curly, Moe, and Ron.
Yes. Joint activity. Joint stoogetivity.
Yes. Perfect.
I see what you did there.
I think we nailed it, boys.
All right, boys.
I think we've earned a field trip now.
15 in the books.
All right. That's it. Culture solved.
Done.
Later, bitches.